This is a very short little topic, but it's something that comes up just about every time that I talk to people about compositing, and that's, what about feathering? You didn't feather anything. Shouldn't you feather things? That used to be a very common technique, was you'd make a selection, add a little bit of feather, and the idea was that would make the edge blend better. Personally, I don't think that's the case. I think most of the time that's what throws people off and it looks unrealistic, is the fact that the edges are just a little too soft. What I would suggest is this. I'll just click on this background layer so I can show you something. When you have a selection, yes, there is a command under Modify called Feather. Here's the problem with this. It's a very permanent decision. Whatever number I put in here, if I say I just want to feather 1 and click OK, that's going to soften the edge very, very slightly, but it's going to stay that way from then on. So anything I do, I can't get it back. So if I go into Refine Edge and go, gosh, that edge looks a little bit too soft, there's no command in here that's going to fix it. So my suggestion would be this. If you feel, and you might, and I'm not saying don't ever use feather, but here's what I am saying. If you feel the need to feather something, don't add the feather while you're making a selection. Do it later on here in the Properties, or previous versions, Mask panel. So here's what it would look like. I would click on the layer mask that I want, go to Properties, and here's a feather command, but there's one very significant, important difference with this. Now, it's not going to look good in this case, I'm just telling you. When I put the feather up to a certain number, the big difference is there's no OK button. I never actually click OK to say feather this much. I just leave it that way, and then when I come back later, it's still set that way. So you never actually click OK and it's permanent. Let's say, for the sake of argument, I left this at a feather of 3.9, and then tomorrow I opened it and went, yikes, that looks really bad. I can put it back down or take it back to 0 completely. So if you decide that in the context of your background it would actually make sense for you to do a little bit of feathering, then I would highly recommend doing it through Properties, or in previous versions, Masks panel, because it's non-destructive feathering, and that's one of the only ways to do that. Otherwise, you're going to feather something and then, frankly, you might regret it later on.